Good morning, students. Today we are going to understand about guerrilla warfare. What exactly is guerrilla warfare? Recently, we had a celebration about Chhatrapati Shivaji Raje and all the techniques that Chhatrapati Shivaji Raje has used. We need to understand that. And guerrilla warfare is such a technique that was extensively used by Chhatrapati Shivaji Raje. Now, in this session, we are going to understand what are that techniques and how this technique is practically being used today. So this has got a practical implication. So we need to understand this. Now, the question is why you need to study this. If you are a defense aspirant, it is very important for you to think as a military commander. Let me introduce myself. My name is Anant Dushing. I am ex-Navy. And I have a foundation called Galaxy Foundation. That foundation is training the students for defense examination, NDA, CDS, AFCAT, INET, and technical entry scheme. We are specially training students in SSB, Service Selection Board interview examination, and how to develop our own personality. That is our main focus. So let's proceed. Now, how this guerrilla warfare is fought, we are going to analyze this. If you see on the screen the photo of Chhatrapati Shivaji Raje. If you see about Chhatrapati Shivaji Raje, his father was a Sardar under Adil Shah. And during that period, India was having three rulers. One was Mughal, second Adil Shah, third Nizam Shah. And Britishers were also trying to sneak inside. So Chhatrapati Shivaji Raje was actually surrounded by many enemies. And during that time, it was very rare, or it was not possible for a Swarajya to be established, because Chhatrapati Shivaji Raje did not have a big army. And he was just a startup, actually, if you see. Now, how actually Chhatrapati Shivaji Raje developed himself, how he developed the techniques, and how he gave a tough fight to all his enemies, and he created a great Swaraj. When Chhatrapati Shivaji Raje started his movement, he was having just 200 soldiers. That too were Maoris. They were common farmers. They were trained and they were converted into soldiers. And till the time, by the time Chhatrapati Shivaji Raje breathed his last, his defense forces comprised of 1 lakh soldiers and more than 300 forts. Plus, Chhatrapati Shivaji Raje have already created a strong navy. So, what led Chhatrapati into winning all the battles or many battles? So that is actually guerrilla warfare. We are going to study that now. Now, what is actually guerrilla warfare? In guerrilla warfare, a common man, a common civilian who are not of a regular army, they have a very important role to play. Now, this practically is being utilized in Ukraine. Ukraine is a small country. Russia is a big country. So Russia have started advancing into Ukraine. You might have seen in the news. Now, what Ukraine did? Ukraine used the first technique of Chhatrapati Shivaji Raje, that is to hand over the weapons to common civilians. Now, common civilians, actually, it has, they are powerful because each and every civilian has his own instinct. They have armed them, and Ukrainian government, President Zelensky, have told that you have to protect yourself. You have to protect your family. You have to protect your country. Now, he has induced patriotism in them. So what are the techniques of guerrilla warfare? First technique is surprise attack. We have to attack when enemy do not expect us, and from the location from where enemy cannot think of us. If you see in Chhatrapati Shivaji Raje's period also, if you see about the Tanaji Malusare's attack, he attacked from such a site of that fort. No one thought that anyone can sneak into from that site. Second is ambush and raids. So ambush and raids are being utilized by special forces in Jammu Kashmir, because whenever there is a tip off that a terrorist is going to sneak inside, our defense forces lay an ambush. Ambush goes for 2 days, 3 days, maybe weeks, till that time the target is not achieved. Ambush means to hide in some place. Then sabotage of vulnerable targets. We are going to understand this in the further slides. Now, this ambush is such a thing that we have to hide there. We have to wait for the enemy to come, and then we have to attack him with surprise, the element of surprise. Now, there are 3 points: espionage, sabotage, and subversion. Now, all these things are being utilized by intelligence agency. Now we are going to understand this. This is espionage. Espionage means spying. Now, spying is very important because each and every country is running a spy agency. It has an agency. Pakistan has ISI, India has RAW, USA has CIA, Israel has Mossad. So what is the importance of this spy agency? The importance is that you get information before any attack is happening, because the inside information is very important. And if you get any information beforehand, you can prepare accordingly. So in Chhatrapati Shivaji Raje's empire also, he had a special spy agency, and that was actually handled by a very experienced Sardar. So Chhatrapati Shivaji Raje could easily track out the movement of the enemy, the future plan of the enemy, and he can plan his attack accordingly. So effective spying is actually very decisive for winning any war. In spying, there are many things that are used. There are unfair tools. You have to do anything. Sam, dam, dandabhed, anything. Now, detective appliances. Nowadays, you have got all the appliances. You have camera systems in wash cameras, you have pen cameras. Then you can monitor a person through maybe satellites, or maybe there are a lot of things that are being utilized by spy agencies. Secondly, they can monitor your phone records, they can monitor your locations and all these things. Bin Laden, how he was traced? He was traced by the phone towers. So that is a different story. I will cover it in a different manner in the future. Now, what is sabotage? Sabotage was also used by Chhatrapati Shivaji Raja on extensive scale. Whenever the enemy army was moving, the supply line was behind, and Chhatrapati Shivaji Raja always utilized this technique of destroying the supply line. An enemy cannot fight if he is hungry. An enemy cannot fight if he doesn't have ammunition. Now, this same technique was utilized by Field Marshal Manekshaw also during Indo-Pakistan War 1971, where we blocked the supply line of East Pakistan, that is today's Bangladesh, and 90,000 soldiers of Pakistan surrender. And it is a history, well-documented history, in which 90,000 soldiers surrender, and the reason was this sabotage. So very important aspect, and the same is utilized in by the Ukrainian government to counter Russia. Third thing is subversion. Subversion is very important. Subversion means what? Subversion means to suppress another opponent, suppress another country. By using what? By using military might, economics, by psychological, political, and moral. So you will see how Ukrainian government is utilizing all this technique of Chhatrapati Shivaji Raje. Now, if you say about military aid, more than 30 to 40 countries are supplying military aid, a military weapon system, to Ukraine. So this is the first thing that Ukraine government had done. They have called the military aid from all the countries, and they are supplying them so that the defense forces which they have, they will get strengthened. The civilian population they have, they will get arms and ammunition. And in some cases, when the civilian population do not have arms and ammunition, they are utilizing the bottles, glass bottles, and they're filling the glass bottles with petrol. Second, economic sanction. They are trying to economically weaken Russia by imposing sanction. If you see the sanction, the result of sanction, the Russian currency have dropped around 50%. Many of the banks of Russia are being banned. European airspace is closed for Russian aircraft for movement. So slowly and steadily, this will impact Russia very badly, because if you don't have money, you cannot wage a war, or you cannot continue a war. There is a limitation for war, because the soldiers who are fighting, they need salary. Second, the equipments that you are using in the war, it comes with a cost. And the citizens of your country, they are the one who are paying for the war by the means of taxes. But if they are overburdened with taxes, it is not possible for them to pay it. And so the social unrest occurs. Now, if you see the big countries who have sanctioned, that is European Union, Canada, USA, UK, Australia, New Zealand, Taiwan, Japan, South Korea, they have already sanctioned Russia. Third thing, psychological. Now, this is actually the real game changer. Now, if you see the president of Ukraine, he is wearing a military uniform, okay? And now if you see after his speech, he got a standing ovation in European Union and United Nations also. Means the world is actually applauding him. A world is actually praising him for his bold stand. Because if you compare him with Afghanistan President Ghani, Afghanistan President fled the country for the fear of his life. And this person, he stood his ground. He said, I am a Ukrainian and I am going to die here, but I will not surrender. So this is the spirit actually that a leader should have. And Chhatrapati Shivaji Raje actually taught us this spirit. Chhatrapati Shivaji Raje could easily have got a good position in Adil Shah's Darbar. He could have been a good Sardar in Adil Shah's Darbar, and he could have lived a very comfortable life there. There was no need of establishing a Swaraj, but he chose a vision more than his comfort. And here also, I would like to say about President Zelensky, he has chosen his freedom. He has chosen a vision for Ukraine over his comfort, because he was offered asylum in USA and UK also. The government told them, you can come to our country, you can live a comfortable life. But he said, no, I will not go. And what was the result? Many of the Ukrainians who have already crossed the borders and gone to another country, they are also coming back. They got inspired from their president. And surprisingly, all his cabinet members, all his ministers, they have also taken weapons, and they are also standing on the ground. So this is actually a miraculous thing in the history. If you compare with Indian politicians, you will be really surprised. I will not like to comment on that, but this is actually the real patriotism that Chhatrapati Shivaji Raje has already taught us, but somehow we forgot that patriotism. Now this president is actually teaching us this patriotism. Now, second factor, psychological. Now here is a foreign minister of Russia. Now when he started his speech in European Union and United Nations, the people did walk out. These people were not willing to listen to his speech. Now such a great insult. Now this insult has got a psychological impact on Russian leadership and Russian decision making. So all these techniques are of Chhatrapati Shivaji Raje, and they are being utilized very effectively by the Ukrainian government. So we can understand what a great heritage we have with us. But the thing is that we are not aware of the heritage. We actually respect Chhatrapati Shivaji Raje, but we don't know what that person did for India and what that person did for world. There was a survey by the military commanders and about the war strategies, about the techniques, and Chhatrapati Shivaji Raje is #1 in that survey. So we Maharashtrians have got a great heritage, and we should actually preserve that heritage. I feel very bad when many of our students don't get selected in defense examination and at a higher levels. So what is the reason? The reason is that we are studying only for examination. We are studying for passing 10th standard, 12th standard, and whatever graduation, whatever we are doing. We are not studying for knowledge. We are just studying to somehow pass the examination. Then we have factories, then we have some offices. We try to get a job of 10,000, 20,000, and then we just try to live a normal life. Now here we have actually great opportunities in defense forces, and I would urge all the students to study not for examination. You have to study for knowledge, and that will make a difference, and that will be a real tribute to our Chhatrapati Shivaji Raje. So another example I will give of Lal Mahal. In Lal Mahal, when Shaiste Khan entered, and he was there in Pune for maybe for 3 years, Now, Chhatrapati Shivaji Raje carried the first surgical strike in the history. By the strike, Shaista Khan was having more than 1 lakh soldiers, and Chhatrapati entered Lal Mahal with only 400 guards. He hit Shaista Khan. Shaista Khan got his 3 fingers cut, and he ran away from that place. Now, he never believed that I have 1 lakh soldiers and how Chhatrapati Shivaji Raje could enter this place. Now, the reasons are that Chhatrapati Shivaji Raje had already stayed in Lal Mahal. He was well aware of the area of Pune. He was actually acquainted with the places, and he drew a well strategy. He attacked in the night and moved on. Now, what is important in guerrilla warfare? The most important thing is speed. You have to enter with a speed, complete your mission, and move back. So in guerrilla warfare, you don't have to wait for counter attack. You don't have to give them a chance to counter attack. Our battle should be very quick. It should be short, means 1 hour, 2 hour, whatever time. It should be very short, and we have to move out fast, because if we don't move out fast, we will come under counter attack. And in guerrilla warfare, always the unit that is fighting is very small. So I would like to ask you one more question. If Chhatrapati Shivaji Raje, when he entered Shaista Khan's area, Lal Mahal, with 400 guards, if Chhatrapati Shivaji Raje would have not gone away after the attack, if he would have stayed there, what would have happened? It was not possible for him to defend his grounds against 1 lakh soldiers. So the surgical strike is such that you have to destroy your target subtly and move away from it. So this surgical strike and this guerrilla warfare techniques which Chhatrapati Shivaji Raje have taught us are being utilized by Ukraine as on today. And this actually has got a practical implication. So thank you very much. I hope you like this video, and if it was helpful for you, you can please comment on it. And in the future, if you like to prepare for some defense examination, you can really contact us. It will be our privilege to help you out. Thank you very much, and Jai Hind to all.